Chapter 51, The Demon King Falls. No more him in Minecraft. As him drew closer, the tremor in the voices of the tracking players became more evident. Him was now almost at the location of the first wither. Yunli immediately commanded the wither to use its explosion skill. With a deafening blast, the wither hidden inside the matchbox shot up into the sky. Him is to the bottom right of Wither 1. The tracking players, seeing the wither spring into action, quickly reported him's position. Yunli raised his voice and commanded, "Wither. Target locked." Controlling the wither wasn't as simple as using a system interface. There was no panel or prompts to assist Yunli, the wither only responded to voice commands. Yunli had spent a long time preparing for this battle, testing distances and the volume necessary to ensure the wither could hear his orders. With precise calculations for distance and volume, he knew his voice would reach the wither without being overheard by anyone else. Yunli's command was given, and the trackers immediately reported back. The wither has turned to face him. It looks like it's locked on. Hearing this news, Yunli finally felt a bit of relief. He then instructed the elite members around him. Release all withers. Lock onto him. As soon as Yunli's words fell, a series of loud bangs echoed from above. 9 more withers appeared in the sky, all eyes fixed on him. All 10 withers locked on. The tracking players swiftly conveyed the update. Yunli didn't hesitate upon hearing this. He issued the next command. All units, aim at him and attack. At Yunli's order, the 10 withers came to life. They all focused on him below, launching their wither skulls. Him, seeing the assault, showed no sign of panic. He teleported rapidly to evade the incoming barrage of skulls. With deft movements, him weaved through the relentless rain of wither skulls, counterattacking with fireball-like abilities, calm and unyielding. The tracking player's nerves were stretched taut. Boss, he's got range skills. He's shooting fireballs. Wither 1 is under attack. Yunli, hearing these reports, was momentarily taken aback. He hadn't anticipated him wielding ranged abilities. But Yunli quickly gathered himself. After slaughtering the Triumph Guild's players, it wasn't surprising for him's strength to have evolved. More skills were to be expected. However, Yunli wasn't overly concerned. Withers could regenerate. Earlier, Yunli had instructed his players to gather and pen livestock. This served 2 purposes: to mislead him into thinking this was a player settlement and to provide healing for the withers. Report the withers' health in real time. If any drop to half health, notify me immediately. To everyone else, attack when he's distracted by his fireballs. Yunli's orders quickly showed results. Boss. Good news. He took damage. The report from the trackers lifted everyone's spirits. As long as him could be harmed, victory was possible. Their greatest fear had been that him would be immune to wither damage, just as he had been to arrows during the Kaishin Guild battle. Seeing the attack succeed, Yunli's confidence soared. Forget finesse. Blast him to pieces. At Yunli's command, the 10 withers unleashed their bombardment. Him managed to teleport away from one wave of attacks, but the next wave struck his face directly. The barrage of wither skulls was so dense that him had no time to evade. In every attack cycle, him was hit by at least 1 or 2 wither skulls. The relentless onslaught from the withers pinned him down, leaving him breathless. His health was dropping rapidly. The tracking players continued to relay battlefield updates without pause. Though the battle seemed to favor Yunli's side, he remained wary. Why is he still fighting at half health? Shouldn't he be fleeing? His suspicion voiced aloud, Yunli awaited updates from the trackers. Boss. Bad news. It looks like him is trying to escape. Relieved to see his doubt resolved, Yunli barked out another command. Don't let him escape. Full assault. As victory drew near, Yunli's heady rush to seize it clouded his judgment. He stopped questioning. The 10 withers chased him relentlessly, reducing everything in their path to rubble. Him's health plummeted. As the withers pursued him further, Yunli's group became uneasy. The withers were moving beyond their control range. Yunli quickly demanded updates from the trackers. What's going on outside? Though they were on the surface, The increasing distance and chaos made it hard for the trackers to see clearly. All they saw was the withers stopping their pursuit and hovering in place. One brave officer crept closer. He beheld a massive crater in the plains, more than 30 meters wide, its depths scorched and blasted. At its center lay a body. Stunned, the officer gaped at the sight. He's dead? Him is dead. It took a moment for Yun Li's group to process the news. Though this was the result they had sought, the reality was almost too much to believe. Is he really dead? Are you sure? Could he be faking it? You didn't mistake someone else for him, did you? The nervous officer moved closer to confirm. Him's body was already disintegrating. Heart pounding, the officer confirmed, "It's true. Boss. His body is disintegrating. He's really dead." Upon hearing this, Yun Li began digging his way up to the surface, issuing instructions as he went. "Quick, record this moment." Yun Li knew this victory was monumental. Although the battle hadn't been broadcast, the result needed to be shared. This was him, the Demon King, an unstoppable force feared by all players. Now he had fallen to the Yunting Guild. This battle alone would make the guild famous. The officer started recording. When Yun Li and his members gathered around the crater, him's body had completely vanished. In its place lay an array of loot. 5 diamonds, a nether star, a treasure map, and several enchanted books. Still grappling with disbelief, Yun Li's doubts evaporated at the sight. So much loot? Players crowded around, eyes shining with excitement. 5 diamonds from one drop. He really was the Demon King. Diamonds are the least of it. Look at that star-like object. Must be priceless. And those enchanted books. I've only ever seen posts about the Eternal Radiance Guild having a single one. The treasure map. It's the Demon King's treasure. Indeed, we're gonna be rich. None of the items were things Yunting Guild members had seen firsthand. This day would go down in history. Chapter 52, Did Him Really Die? The players had seen images of diamonds and enchanted books before, but only on forums. As for treasure maps and nether stars, not even the forums had much to show. This alone spoke volumes about how rare these drops were. Seeing this, Yun Li finally dismissed his last doubts. "Did you capture everything just now?" Yun Li turned and asked the high-ranking player who had been monitoring the battle. The player nodded and then sent the recorded video to Yun Li. "Boss, take a look. Is it good?" Yun Li played the video and saw that even in death, him's corpse was covered by a mosaic blur. Even in death, his appearance couldn't be captured on camera. But that was fine. This was proof that they had truly killed him. If the video had shown him's face clearly, Yun Li would have suspected a trap instead. Satisfied, Yun Li collected all the rare loot from the crater and then opened the forum. Without hesitation, he posted the video. The title was as simple and direct as it gets. "The Demon King Falls. No more him in Minecraft." After publishing, Yun Li immediately closed the forum. There was no need for extra publicity. He was certain the post would go viral. "Everyone, you've done well. Let's go back and celebrate. But one more thing. Keep all information about the Wither and the Nether confidential." Hearing this, the top players nodded in agreement. "Don't worry, boss. We get it. Why isn't the post trending yet? I'm dying to see everyone's reactions." "Relax, it'll be pinned soon enough. With this post, the Yunting Guild will claim the #1 spot. No one can challenge that. Obviously." Ha! Amidst cheers and laughter, the group made their way back to the Yunting Guild's headquarters. None of them noticed a pair of glowing white eyes watching from the shadows. "The fish has taken the bait. Time to close the net." Xu Yuan had invested a lot of effort into this battle. He had to admit, dealing with someone like Yun Li was no easy task. The man was overly cautious, which forced Xu Yuan to execute every detail to perfection. Otherwise, tricking this old fox would have been impossible. Fortunately, hard work paid off. Xu Yuan had finally reached the endgame. The net was ready to be pulled in. With utmost caution, Xu Yuan trailed the group, wary of making any mistakes. Less than 5 minutes after Yun Li's post went live, It had already surpassed 1 million views. A catchy title was truly powerful. When players first saw the post, many assumed it was just another clickbait attempt. But seeing that it was posted by Yun Li, the vice president of the Cloud Soar Guild, their curiosity got the better of them. As they watched the video, they were stunned. What the hell? Is this video real or fake? Did him really die? Wah? No way, no way. The pixelated mess in the crater. That's him? But there's no white eyes. Are you stupid? He's dead. His eyes are closed. Of course, there's no white glow. The video doesn't look edited. It was recorded directly in-game, in real time. So, Cloud Soar Guild really killed him? Holy crap. I need a moment. No way. This has to be another of him's schemes. There's no way he'd go down that easily. I agree. Him is the Demon King. He wouldn't just die like that. Stop overhyping him. Plenty of experts have analyzed him. He's not that strong on his own, just good at mind games. I've heard Yun Li is ruthless and cunning. It's possible he outplayed him. There were whispers about Yunting's top players and elite squads being offline for days. They were probably planning this secret mission. Does that mean him is really dead? Most likely. Did you see the rare drops in the crater? I've never seen anything like those. Yun Li's post left the player base in shock. Initially, many assumed the video was edited. Professional analysts even took it upon themselves to verify the footage for signs of tampering. In the end, their conclusions left no room for doubt. The footage was a raw, unedited in-game recording. Him's death, confirmed by the drops, was no hoax. Despite the disbelief, players had to accept the truth. The once feared Demon King Him, with his mind games and monstrous army, had fallen. His legend, no matter how terrifying, was now history. Players, though dazed, gradually began to accept reality. Seriously? That's all it took to kill the so-called Demon King? Good riddance. No more living in fear. Damn, I never even saw him in-game. And now he's gone. I was thinking of defecting and joining him's side. Guess that plan's out. Damn it. My carefully curated him fan club just hit 500 members, and now this. What? I was halfway through outlining my him fanfiction. You've got to be kidding me. Hey, better to not start than to leave it unfinished. Cheer up. Despite him being a villain, his charisma had captivated countless players. Even though few had encountered him directly, his presence resonated throughout the game. His aura as the Demon King was undeniable. No one expected someone so fierce to fall like this. Within an hour, Yun Li's post was pinned to the forum. The news of him's demise spread rapidly. The Cloud Soar Guild's fame skyrocketed. Their achievement in slaying him catapulted them to the second highest spot on the guild leaderboard. Guild popularity was based on player votes. The higher the rating, the more players wanted to join. The Cloud Soar Guild became the talk of the town. After all, they were the guild that killed him, and with all the rare drops in their possession, their future looked incredibly bright. Many players now yearned to join their ranks. However, as a major guild, Cloud's recruitment standards were high. They didn't publicly disclose their headquarters location. Interested players had to privately message high-ranking members and pass rigorous assessments to join. Knowing this, players spammed the guild's high-ranking members with messages. But they received no responses. Frustrated, many took to the forums to vent. Cloud Soar Guild sure is stuck up. They don't even reply. Aren't they recruiting? Why act so high and mighty? So, it's not just me. My brother and I are fully geared in iron, but they ignored our messages. Forget it. Who needs them? Meanwhile, deep in the forest 5,000 yards from Cloud Soar Space, a group of fully armored players were talking. Along, did Yun Li reply to you? Nope. I saw on the forum that many others aren't getting replies either. Along closed the forum with a frown. The players began to complain. Cloud Soar Guild is getting cocky just because they killed him? Right? Before, they were practically begging us to join. Now they think they're too good for us. So, what do we do? Find another guild or check it out ourselves? Their base isn't far. Let's take a look. Chapter 53 Cloud Soar Guild sure is arrogant. Long and his companions were elite solo players who had once been courted by the Yunting Guild. So, Long and his crew were familiar with the Cloud Soar Guild's headquarters. However, they used to look down on Cloud Soar Guild, which was why talks never went anywhere. But after seeing the post Cloud Soar Guild put out, Long and his friends had a change of heart. The problem was, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't reach anyone from Cloud Soar. After listening to his friend's suggestions, Long thought it over for a moment before agreeing. Alright, let's go check out their base first and see what happens. The Eternal Guild's headquarters. What? Him got killed by that kid Yunli? Tian Heng's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the senior players gathered around him. Yunli posted about it an hour ago. The post is now pinned and highlighted. Several of our guild's experts verified the video. There's no evidence of tampering. It's genuine. That kid hadn't returned to their base for days. Rumor was they were cooking up some sort of ultimate weapon. I can't believe him really fell to them. I saw the post too. Him's death dropped a lot of loot, including a treasure map. Him's stash must be incredible. Damn it. Because of this, Yun Teng's ranking has overtaken ours. The meeting room of the Eternal Guild was filled with sour faces. One would think someone had spilled a few bottles of vinegar. Tian Heng's face darkened as he listened to the senior members' complaints. Damn it. Gather everyone right now, we're taking out that diamond-armored zombie. When Him was alive, Tian Heng had to show respect. They tolerated the diamond-armored zombie, pampered it even. But now that Him was gone, if word got out that the Eternal Guild had been feeding and entertaining a zombie, it would be a humiliating scandal. 4 days, Tian Heng had been bottling up his rage over having to keep that zombie well-fed. It wasn't just him, the whole guild felt the same way. They'd all swallowed their pride for the greater good and played nice. But now, things were different. Him was no more. Without Him's protection, the diamond-armored zombie was fair game. With the Eternal Guild's strength, dealing with it would be a breeze. The senior members' eyes lit up at Tian Heng's order. They'd been holding in their frustration for far too long. Taking down the diamond-armored zombie would be cathartic, and it would let them regain some face. After all, the zombie had been Him's top henchman. Got it, I'll make the arrangements right away. Taking it out means we'll claim a full diamond set. Plus, there'll probably be a good haul of loot. Let's corner that wolf first. Then we can deal with the zombie properly. Following Tian Heng's command, the Eternal Guild wasted no time and sprang into action. Their first target? The troublesome wolf. At that moment, Peng Peng was happily playing with Little Bug in his tiny room. Suddenly, a group of senior players barged in without warning. They didn't even give Peng Peng a chance to react. They grabbed Little Bug by the scruff and dragged it away. What are you doing? Don't grab it like that. It's hurting. Where are you taking it? Under normal circumstances, Peng Peng would never dare speak so boldly to the senior players. But seeing them handle Little Bug so roughly, he couldn't help himself. The senior players ignored his protests, roughly shoving him aside as they forcefully took Little Bug out. Peng Peng, worried, immediately followed them. The senior players hauled Little Bug to the main square. By then, all the Eternal Guild members had gathered. Peng Peng, seeing the large crowd and sensing something was terribly wrong, began to panic. Little Bug was dragged to the center of the square. Sensing danger, it lunged and bit down hard on the senior player holding it. The player winced in pain before flinging Little Bug aside. The wolf crashed onto the ground with a thud. Sensing the threat, it tried to run. But the Eternal Guild members quickly encircled it. Little Bug bared its teeth and growled, but its tightly tucked tail betrayed its fear. Everyone could see how scared it was. Tian Heng stepped into the circle, his voice finally breaking the tension. See this? Would a tamed wolf bite people? Would it snarl at us like this? He spoke as he slowly approached the trembling Little Bug. You all know about the strange occurrences in the forest north of our base. Monsters behaving like they've gained sentience. We've lost countless members to them. Not to mention all the gear that's gone with them. Tian Heng reached Little Bug, his eyes narrowing at the frightened creature. Recently, we discovered that this wolf, along with Him's henchmen in the forest, was behind it all. This beast infiltrated our guild to relay information. Him's henchmen struck from the shadows. The gathered players were stunned by this revelation. Tianheng had kept this a tightly guarded secret, known only to a few. Many had wondered why the guild stopped using that area of the forest, but they were told it was unsuitable. Hearing the truth, rage filled the crowd. What? This smut was playing us? Damn it. This beast cost me a full iron set. Hell no. This isn't a wolf, it's a dog through and through. Him is dead. His lackey? Nothing. Let's take him down. Break its legs. Let's see it spy now. Kill this mutt. The players erupted in fury. Their rage wasn't just at the betrayal, it was the humiliation of being outwitted by a mere wolf. If it had been him or even his direct henchman, it might have been tolerable. But a pet? It was too much. Their pride demanded satisfaction. Seeing their fury, Tianheng smiled darkly. He drew a diamond sword from his inventory and approached Little Bug. With a swift motion, he struck its front legs. A whir! The wolf's anguished howl pierced the air as blood soaked the ground around it. Kill it. Teach these beasts what happens when they cross us. Feels good. Try spying now. Amidst the jeers, Tianheng swung again. This time, Little Bug's hind legs were severed. Little Bug's cries faded as blood pooled beneath it. Tianheng hoisted its limp form into the air, turning to the crowd. Now, let's hunt down its master. The members of the Eternal Guild showed their true colors. They were the epitome of bullies. When Him was around, even if Little Bug peed on their heads, they wouldn't dare touch it. But with him gone, they vented all their pent-up frustrations on a helpless wolf. Peng Peng's heart shattered as he watched Little Bug suffer. He understood why the guild was angry, but he couldn't share their rage. For him, Little Bug was more than just a spy or a pawn. It had saved him, kept him company, and never harmed him. Even when their roles became clear, Little Bug had only protected him. This was more than a game to Peng Peng. It was real. Chapter 54. Are you looking for this? He could feel it wasn't just data, it was flesh and blood. It could express emotions with moments of joy, anger, sadness, and excitement. Its eyes would light up at the sight of fresh meat. When playing frisbee, its tail wagged like a propeller. Whenever Peng Peng touched it, it would roll over, exposing its belly to him. Peng Peng could feel it too. Little Bug trusted him wholeheartedly, with no hint of malice. Watching Little Bug, barely alive, being lifted by Tianheng, Peng Peng wanted nothing more than to rush forward and save it. But he didn't dare. He had brought Little Bug back, and the guild suffered greatly because of his decision. Tianheng hadn't punished him yet, already a rare mercy. Peng Peng didn't have the guts to defy Tianheng. Little Bug, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I never should have brought you back. No sooner had Tianheng finished speaking than the players of the Eternal Guild roared back with fervor. Brothers! Let's butcher him together. As Him's lackeys, you should have expected this. Him's in the ground, we'll send you down to join him. Let's go. We'll take back every piece of gear they took from us. Eternal Guild's players swiftly formed ranks and marched north toward the forest. Northern Forest, Eternal Guild territory. 007 glanced through gaps in the tree leaves, eyes squinting at the midday sun. 4 days now, around this time, groups of Eternal Guild players would show up, building repair shelters. These players had grown wise. They never wore expensive gear. Yet when ambushed by monsters, they never stood a chance and were quickly wiped out. It happened day after day, enough to make 007 suspicious. Something felt off. He couldn't pinpoint why, but the unease was there. Although Xu Yuan had taught him how to counter players in various ways, he had never been taught to read people's intentions. 007 had little experience dealing with players. Naturally, he was clueless about their schemes. So, even though he had a vague sense that something wasn't right, his limited understanding left him unable to identify the problem. While deep in thought, a disturbance in the distance interrupted him. A squad of Eternal Guild players was approaching. As before, They appeared to be there to build more repair shelters. 007 shook off his worries. A low growl escaped his throat, reverberating through the forest. Moments later, monsters gathered around him. By now, they knew the routine. Without needing 007's direct commands, they knew how to deal with these players. As the players drew closer, the monsters hid behind tree trunks, ready to pounce when their prey was within reach. The players kept advancing, while the monsters moved closer. Suddenly, the leaves above the monsters rustled ominously. 007 tensed, sensing danger. Just as he prepared to signal the monsters to disperse, the canopy above was violently torn away. Eternal Guild players leapt down from the treetops, encircling the monsters in a flash. In less than 30 seconds, the monsters were completely surrounded. Over 10,000 players had come from above, sealing off 007 and his group. Faced with such overwhelming numbers, 007 panicked. The earlier easy targets were bait. He'd fallen for the trap, dragging the entire monster force into Eternal Guild's hands. There was no time to react. Charge! With that cry, Eternal Guild's players swarmed forward, eager for blood. Despite several of 007's monsters having awakened rudimentary awareness, their combat strength wasn't enough. Faced with such an onslaught, they panicked. They fought back, but the sheer number of enemies turned their struggle into futile desperation. Kill them. Take back our gear. You think you deserve that armor? Hand it over. Afraid now? Where's all that swagger? Oh, you spider! You killed me 3 times. Time to return the favor. There were only around 400 monsters against the vast numbers of Eternal Guild. Caught off guard, even the strongest monsters couldn't overcome the human wave. They weren't him. They didn't possess him's might. Even him had fallen to these players. What chance did they have? Fueled by adrenaline, the Eternal Guild players pressed the attack. Monsters fell one by one, dying under a hail of blades. Watching his allies fall, 007's rage boiled over. Roar! With a deafening roar, he plunged into the fray. Each strike felled dozens of players. 007's battle prowess was impressive. With diamond tier gear and raw strength, he tore through the players as if they were paper. Eternal Guild's forces struggled to hold him back, fear spreading like wildfire. Damn, this diamond-armored zombie is brutal. He's stronger than during the battle with the Triumph Guild. That diamond armor's defense is insane. We can't break through. I refuse to believe it. We're 10,000 strong, no way we're losing to him's lackey. 007 fought like a demon, cutting down swathes of players. Even those clad in iron armor fell instantly. But something strange happened. Amidst his rampage, 007 kept glancing at the players' feet, as if searching for something. Tianheng noticed this peculiarity. Just as 007 was about to break free from the encirclement, Tianheng stepped forward. With a flick, he tossed a bloodied, barely breathing figure at 007's feet. Is this what you're looking for? 007 froze as Tianheng hurled a blood-soaked object in front of him. He moved closer, realizing it was a wolf, its legs severed, its body drenched in blood. Despite the blood-stained fur, 007 recognized it instantly. Roar! His furious roar shook the entire forest. Seeing his dying companion, 007's will to fight crumbled. He rushed to Little Bug's side, lifting it carefully. Little Bug, barely hanging on, sniffed weakly, trying to recognize the scent. When it caught 007's familiar scent, its eyes fluttered open, and even as its strength waned, its tail wagged slightly. 007's roars turned to tremors of grief. He felt Little Bug's life slipping away in his arms. His hands trembled. To him, Little Bug was more than a friend. It was a family member, a reminder of its master's purpose. As Little Bug weakened, 007 was at a loss. He had no idea what to do. No power to save it. The memories of their time together flooded his mind, and for the first time, 007's throat tightened with a sob. The Eternal Guild players around him watched in stunned silence. It's so tragic. Can we even talk about this? Chapter 55, Little Bug and 007. Damn it, why are my eyes watering? Don't get soft. Remember, they killed plenty of our players. Even if we die, we can revive. Worst case, we lose some equipment, but this? It's different for those who raise pets. Seeing this is just unbearable. Little Bug, with the last shred of his strength, extended his tongue. Just like always, he licked 007's face. That single lick drained every bit of energy he had left. His trembling tongue barely touched 007's cheek before falling limp. Roar! Roar! Little Bug had been holding on just to see 007 one last time. Just to lick his face one more time. Of course, if he had any energy left, he would have loved to play their favorite game of tossing eyeballs again. He wanted to see 007 panic like before, thinking his eyeball had been eaten. He wanted to feel 007 rub his little belly one more time. But it was beyond him now. At that moment, as if understanding what Little Bug wished for, 007 dug out his own eyeball and placed it in Little Bug's mouth. Roar! 007 shook Little Bug's body fiercely, as if trying to get him to stand up and play. The eyeball kept falling out, and each time, 007 picked it up and put it back. Over and over again, repeating the motion. You like my eyeball, right? I'm giving it to you. No need to return it. It felt as if he was silently telling him this. For the first time, 007 experienced heartache. He was incapable of physical pain. Even if a blade pierced through him, he would feel nothing. But right now, his chest was aching. He had never felt anything like it before. Holding Little Bug tightly, 007 didn't move. The Eternal Guild players watching seemed affected too. They didn't attack. Only now did they truly see that these two creatures had lives of their own. And one of those lives was gone because of them. 007 continued to hold Little Bug close. Until Little Bug's body lost all warmth. When Little Bug's life signs faded completely, his body slowly began to dissipate. Upon seeing this, 007 panicked. He couldn't accept Little Bug's death, but he had no power to change it. He couldn't bring him back. But he refused to let Little Bug vanish from this world. With this resolve, 007 made a desperate decision. He stood up and brought both hands to his mouth. With a sickening noise, 007 tore his mouth open. Then, with another snap, he forcefully dislocated his jaw. The Eternal Guild players were stunned. They couldn't understand why 007 was mutilating himself. Was it grief over losing Little Bug? As they puzzled over it, 007 picked up Little Bug's body and started stuffing it into his mouth. He was like a snake swallowing its prey. Bit by bit he swallowed Little Bug's corpse whole. The players watched in shock. Holy! He actually ate it? What just happened? I thought he cared about that wolf. Why is he eating it? See? Monsters don't have emotions. One moment all sentimental, the next, chomping down like it's nothing. I think he wanted to preserve the wolf. Yeah. The body was fading. If he didn't eat it, it would be gone. Zombies don't digest, do they? So if he eats the wolf, it stays inside him forever? Exactly. He ripped his jaw apart just so he could swallow it whole, to keep it intact. He's found another way to stay together forever. The players of the Eternal Guild were deeply moved by 007's actions. Many wiped away silent tears, even though he was their enemy. 007 and Little Bug's bond was undeniable. Though they had thoughts and free will, they were not like players. Their hearts were simple. They had a purpose. They had each other. To them, such bonds were lifelong promises. Even if death took one away, the other would hold on however they could. With a heavy heart and under immense pain, 007 swallowed Little Bug's body. After he had done so, a wave of dizziness washed over him. Something in his body seemed to activate. He suddenly felt extremely weak. All his strength left him. He wasn't sure why, but deep down he felt it had to do with Little Bug. After swallowing Little Bug, 007 couldn't even stand. Eternal Guild's leader, Tianheng, noticed immediately. Now's our chance. Unlike other players, Tianheng had no sympathy for 007 or Little Bug. No matter how tragic their story, he wouldn't waver. To him, this was just a game. As the leader of the Eternal Guild, he prioritized his guild's goals. He's weak. Everyone. The players exchanged hesitant glances. Tianheng was about to lose his temper. Just then, he received a message from the Eternal Splendor Guild leader, Yonghui. There's a diamond tier zombie near your guild base and you didn't tell me? You want to kill it? Are you out of your mind? Stop immediately and capture it. Tianheng was dumbfounded after Yonghui's furious message. He hadn't informed Yonghui yet. Tianheng had planned to kill the diamond tier zombie first and then report to Yonghui for credit. He hadn't expected Yonghui to already know. Yonghui had known since the start when Tianheng encountered 007. But the situation was tricky. Him's presence complicated things. If 007 was attacked, it could spell doom for the Eternal Guild. Yonghui agreed with Tianheng's approach. His pride kept him silent about feeding monsters. It was a humiliation he preferred to ignore. However, Yonghui never imagined Tianheng would consider killing 007. Yonghui also knew about him's demise. Tianheng thought killing him's subordinate would boost their guild standing. But killing a lackey couldn't compare to taking down the boss. It would only offer a short-lived sense of superiority. As one of the top guilds, Eternal Guild's position had already been overshadowed by the Cloud Sar Guild, thanks to him. Killing 007 couldn't change that. Tianheng was short-sighted. That's why he was only a leader of a subsidiary guild. Yonghui, however, saw it differently. With him gone, the Cloud Sky Guild soared to second place. Eliminating him's lackey wouldn't surpass their glory. In fact, it would achieve the opposite. Chapter 56 Eternal Guild's Plan. The Cloud Soar Guild continued to keep its dominance over the Eternal Guild. Moreover, if Tianheng really killed him's underling, it would only confirm the suspicions about the previous feeding incident. Rumors had already been circulating outside, and many major guilds were aware of the situation. Behind closed doors, they had been laughing at the Eternal Guild. If Tianheng truly ended up killing 007, it would solidify the impression that the guild was only brave when him wasn't around but went all out when he was gone. To be fair, most guilds might have reacted similarly if put in the same position. But feeding a monster? That was truly embarrassing. No matter how one framed it, it was a joke worth telling and retelling. Additionally, the timing of the monster feeding incident coincided with the Cloud Soar Guild taking down him. Cloud Soar, which once had weaker strength than the Eternal Guild, had boldly faced off with him and even killed him. On the other hand, the Eternal Guild was petrified of even facing him's underling, resorting to feeding him to avoid conflict. If this situation were allowed to escalate, no matter how well the Eternal Guild developed, it would still be regarded as a laughingstock among all other guilds. Yonghui, aware of the broader implications, instructed Tianheng not to kill 007. The best move for now was to capture 007 instead. With this, they could counter any future rumors by claiming that their previous feeding was merely a tactic to lower his guard, leading to his capture. This explanation would help reframe their humiliating actions as a clever ploy. At the very least, they wouldn't give other guilds more material to mock them. What to do with 007 after capturing him could be sorted out later. Yonghui's foresight as the guild's leader showed his long-term thinking, far surpassing Tianheng's impulsive approach. Given the current situation, killing 007 would ruin the guild's image. When Tianheng received Yonghui's instructions, he was a bit puzzled. But disobeying Yonghui wasn't an option. Glancing at 007, who lay motionless, drained after consuming the small bug, Tianheng still couldn't fathom why it weakened him so much. In his current state, 007 was completely vulnerable. Pondering for a moment, Tianheng addressed the gathered players. Someone bring a metal bucket and fetch some lava. We'll construct an obsidian cage at the guild base. We'll take him back and lock him up for now. Although 007 seemed helpless at the moment, there was no guarantee it would stay that way. Tianheng decided to proceed with caution. Creating an obsidian cage would be the most secure solution. They could deal with 007 based on Yonghui's next instructions. Upon receiving the order, the players quickly got to work. Even with 007 too weak to move, transporting him proved challenging. Fortunately, the journey was uneventful, and 007 was safely delivered to the Eternal Guild's base. The obsidian cage was already prepared by the time they arrived. After imprisoning 007, Tianheng reported back to Yonghui. "Plus, he's locked up now. What's next?" Seeing Tianheng's message, Yonghui finally let out a sigh of relief. "I heard this diamond-armored zombie is special?" Yonghui had watched the footage of him leading monsters to attack cities. His first impression of this diamond-armored zombie was how powerful it was, wiping out swathes of players with brute force. It could even one-hit kill fully armored players. From high-ranking Eternal Guild members, Yonghui later learned that the diamond-armored zombie, like him, had intelligence. However, Yonghui didn't know the finer details, so he questioned Tianheng. Tianheng relayed everything that had transpired. "There's no denying his strength is terrifying. If not for that wolf, while we might not have been completely wiped out, we'd never have been able to stop him from escaping." Tianheng had thankfully anticipated this, bringing along the small bug as a precaution. Without it, 007 could have easily broken through their ranks and escaped, demonstrating his formidable power. Reflecting on the encounter, Tianheng felt a shiver of fear. Had he not brought the small bug, the guild might have suffered significant losses. Upon reading Tianheng's detailed report, Yonghui paused in contemplation. He initially assumed him's underling was just a slightly stronger monster, its power merely bolstered by equipment. But now, it was evident the creature's strength was genuine. Moreover, it was clear that this monster had potential for growth. Previously, its power level had been far from what it currently displayed. Most importantly, it shared him's ability to command other monsters. If they could turn him to their side and nurture him into another him, the guild's future would be secure. Since he has intelligence, we must try to recruit him. Make him work for us. If 007 had been a mindless creature, acting solely under him's control, Yonghui would have dismissed the idea. But, based on everything Tianheng shared, Yonghui saw an opportunity. If 007 truly had a mind of his own, there might be a way to bring him to their side. Of course, it was just a gamble. But if it paid off, 007 could become their second Demon King. A Demon King loyal to the Eternal Radiance Guild would make them unstoppable. Logically, it all made sense. The hard part would be executing it. Tianheng, inspired by Yonghui's words, realized the potential. This might actually work. Previously, Tianheng had begrudgingly overseen the feeding efforts to placate 007. He never imagined the possibility of recruiting him. While the idea of taming a monster seemed ridiculous, wasn't him an intelligent monster, too? The possibility wasn't entirely out of reach. Now that him was gone, perhaps a little brainwashing, some enticing benefits. Maybe 007 could work for the guild, even on a harsh 996 schedule. With this new plan, Tianheng formulated two strategies. One was a peaceful approach. The other? Not so peaceful. If they couldn't reason with 007, then they'd resort to harsher measures. Closing the chat, Tianheng swiftly issued orders. Start with persuasion and reformation. If that failed, psychological pressure would be next. After finalizing plans with Tianheng, Yonghui opened another chat window, this time with Canglong, the Radiance Guild's leader. "How's it going? Did you take care of the Ender Dragon?" Earlier, the Eternal Guild had discovered the End Portal and had been collecting Eyes of Ender to activate it. Finally, after gathering all 12 eyes, they placed them on the mysterious altar. To their surprise, it was not a shrine, but a gateway. Beyond the portal lay a vast, starry expanse. No one knew what lay ahead. Radiance Guild members took a deep breath, shed their gear, and leapt in. Opening their eyes, they found themselves in the end. A distant roar soon reached their ears. Looking up, they saw an enormous dragon soaring through the endless void. The dragon didn't attack, it merely circled towering obsidian pillars. Cages holding purple crystals were perched atop these pillars. Drawn to these crystals, the dragon remained nearby, seemingly tethered. The Radiance Guild, seasoned in gaming, knew what this meant. In most games, dragons were bosses. On entering the end, a name appeared above their heads, Ender Dragon. Below that, a massive purple health bar. It was clear, this was no ordinary foe, but a powerful boss. It was the first major boss Eternal Guild had encountered since starting the game. Songlong reported the situation to Yonghui. Naturally, Yonghui wouldn't let this chance slip by. He immediately commanded Songlong to slay the Ender Dragon. When Cloud Soar Guild killed him, they reaped countless rewards. Yonghui was envious. If Songlong's team could defeat the Ender Dragon, they would likely reap a similar bounty. Receiving Yonghui's orders, Songlong sighed. He stood in the end, surrounded by the scattered equipment of fallen players. Yonghui's directives were simple, but he had no idea how difficult it was to take down the dragon. After much trial and error, they discovered that the purple crystals atop the obsidian pillars needed to be destroyed. Chapter 57 Hymns Fake Death, Cloud Soar Guild's Annihilation. Otherwise, it would restore the Ender Dragon's health. Finally, after painstakingly destroying the purple crystals, the players realized that this boss was on a whole different level of difficulty. With tough dragon scales as armor, arrows couldn't scratch it at all. They waited and waited, hoping for it to land. When it finally descended and perched on the ground, it flapped its massive wings, making it impossible for anyone to approach. And if someone did manage to get close, a single blast of dragon breath would wipe them out. The players were being mercilessly tortured by this beast. It was obvious, the Ender Dragon wasn't a foe they could handle with their current strength. Originally, Songlong had also wanted to give it a shot. But after several party wipes, he gave up the idea. He reported the situation to Yonghui honestly. "Boss, this thing's unbeatable. It's immune to ranged attacks. And even when we get close, it just takes one blast of dragon spit, and we're toast." While speaking, Songlong sent Yonghui a video of their previous battles. After watching the footage, Yonghui got a basic understanding of the Ender Dragon. Though powerful, it wasn't entirely invincible. Ranged attacks did nothing, but he noticed that when the dragon landed and players approached, one of them managed to hit it with an iron sword. Yonghui paid close attention. When the player landed the strike, the dragon's health bar shifted ever so slightly. That meant it could be hurt. If it could be hurt, it could be killed. Yonghui always played games with one rule: if there was even the smallest chance to chip away at an enemy's health, victory was possible. If one person in a group of 1,000 could shave off a sliver of the Ender Dragon's health, then increasing the numbers would work, right? With 10,000 people, they'd deal more damage. If that didn't work, then 50,000. And if that wasn't enough, 100,000. Eternal Glory had over 50,000 members. The Eternal Guild had more than 20,000. Add in Songlong's guild with another 20,000 plus players. 100,000 players together. Surely they could bring down one Ender Dragon. The Eternal Glory Guild never lacked manpower. Besides, it wouldn't take the entire guild to beat one boss. Players could hurt it. The damage was just too low. If that was the case, why not increase the damage output? Iron swords weren't cutting it. But what about TNT? The guild members had stockpiled gunpowder from their mining expeditions, so explosives weren't in short supply. They just needed to load up on TNT and go head-to-head with the Ender Dragon. Unlike him, the dragon didn't have a mind of its own. It was just a series of code. There were countless ways to deal with it. With that thought, Yonghui replied to Songlong. "Mobilize more people and mass-produce TNT. No matter what, we'll take it down, even if we have to smash through it." At the Cloud Soar Guild base. After walking for over an hour, Long and his group finally approached the Cloud Soar Guild's territory. "Are you sure it's here? There's not even a single building in sight. This was the location I was told. I doubt they'd lie about it. Strange. Did the Cloud Soar Guild just vanish? No responses to private messages, and now we can't find their base." The group chatted idly as they combed through the area in a grid search. Suddenly, a player searching the northern side screamed like they'd seen a ghost. "What the?" AG Long's group quickly rushed over. Before them was a massive crater. Scattered throughout were charred remnants that looked like matchsticks. Among the debris were fragments of equipment and resources strewn everywhere. Though everything was blown to bits, it was clear that this had once been a bustling settlement. Judging by the symbols on the tattered flags lying around, this had been the Cloud Soar Guild's headquarters. Or, more accurately, what used to be their headquarters. Everyone stared, frozen in shock. Oh, what happened here? This place went through some kind of hell. If I'm not mistaken, this was the Cloud Soar Guild's base, right? Yeah? Only the battle-scarred version. The scene left Long's group completely stunned. They were so shocked that they forgot to grab any of the scattered loot. Long, equally baffled, muttered to himself, "Didn't they kill him? Then who the hell did this to their base?" His friends shook their heads. Could it have been another guild, out of jealousy? No way. Defeating him meant they had powerful cards to play. Combined with his loot and treasures, who'd dare challenge them? True. From the destruction here, it doesn't look like something players could pull off. The words sank in. Long's eyes widened as a chilling thought occurred to him. I have a bold theory. Could him be responsible? His friends paused, digesting the idea. Oh wait, didn't they kill him? The video was verified as real. Yeah, plus there were the loot drops. Despite their protests, the sight before them made it hard to dismiss Long's suspicion. The only entity capable of such devastation was him. But him was supposed to be dead, proven by footage. Were there two hims in this game? Long shook his head. Who else could do this? Think about it. Right after Cloud Soar Guild announced him's defeat, I contacted them. Within an hour. But they didn't reply. With so many players complaining on the forums, it's clear no one from Cloud Soar answered. That means, at that time, they were either in the middle of something or had already experienced something terrible. If they were in the middle of it, we'd be witnessing a slaughter with no time to respond. If they'd already gone through it, they'd be too ashamed to reply. And why would they be ashamed? They just killed him, so they should be basking in glory. The only explanation is, they got humiliated. By him. No one argued. Deep down, they'd suspected him's involvement, but it was too terrifying to admit. Long's logic was sound. As much as they wanted to deny it, everything pointed to one truth: him wasn't dead. If it really is him, could he still be around? Don't scare me, is he watching us right now? Calm down. Him wouldn't bother with us nobodies. True. After obliterating Yunting, he probably left. What do we do now? Grab what we can and get out? After a moment of thought, Long nodded. You guys loot? I'm starting a live stream. This needed to be exposed. The silence of Yunting's players meant they were hiding the truth. That left everyone believing him was dead, making them vulnerable. Long agreed with Steve's approach. Avoid him, hinder his progress, and only then would there be a chance for victory. Without spreading the truth, everything Steve did would have been for nothing. Long opened the forums and went live. His stream's title was blunt and to the point. Him's fake death. Cloud Soar Guild annihilated. At first, only a few curious players joined, thinking it was clickbait. But when they saw the desolate scene, their jaws dropped. What is this? Isn't this the Cloud Soar Guild's base? Chapter 58 Humiliation. Holy crap! What's going on? Is the streamer faking this for views? If this is fake, he's got a huge budget for it. If I had this much gear, I wouldn't need to chase views. So this really is the Cloud Soar Guild base? How could this happen? Didn't Cloud Soar just kill him? Why is their base gone? You nailed it? Didn't you read the streamer's title? I knew it. No way him was that easy to kill. No wonder none of my messages to Cloud Soar members got replies. They were too busy eating humble pie. I said it before. They uploaded that video to stir up hype, but they vanished afterward. Turns out they got wiped out. Many players who clicked on Long's stream were there to jeer. But when they saw the ruins of the Cloud Soar Guild's base, the insults caught in their throats. Anyone with half a brain could tell this stream wasn't faked. The sheer amount of gear scattered across the ground, and the guild banners bearing the Cloud Soar insignia, were too much for any staged event. Adding to this was the forum chatter, with countless users complaining about cloud source radio silence. Only then did the viewers realize him's death was nothing but a ruse. Meanwhile, within the Cloud Soar Guild's chat channel, usually bustling with activity, there was nothing but dead silence. The guild members were scattered far and wide, and even though more than half an hour had passed since the massacre, none had recovered their composure. Him? Wasn't he dead? And those withers, weren't they the vice guild leader's summons? Why are they following him? Remember when this happened to the Triumph Guild? Those wolves were supposed to be tamed by players too. Weren't we told we'd have countless chances, while he had only one? The members of the Cloud Soar Guild were like lost souls. They couldn't understand why, after Yunli had supposedly slain him, the monster reappeared in their midst just as they celebrated at the base. They also couldn't comprehend why the 10 withers, supposedly under Yunli's control, suddenly obeyed him. Although they didn't know all the details, one thing was clear: they would never forget the smile him gave before their deaths. It wasn't the first time they'd seen that smile. The same smile appeared when him led monsters to slaughter the Triumph Guild and patted a wolf cub's head. Even if they didn't understand the full story, they could grasp one thing from that smile. He's been playing with us all along. So it's just like what happened with the Triumph Guild. It was all a setup? Why? The vice leader saw his body disintegrate. How? Yeah, we had countless chances, but we stupidly assumed he only had one. From all the games I've played, I've always respected the vice leader the most for his meticulous planning. I can't believe he fell into him's trap. The Cloud Soar Guild members couldn't pinpoint every detail, but they were certain this was him's grand scheme. And that was what shook them to their core. If him had outsmarted their leader or any other guild master, they might have accepted it. But for him to deceive Yunli, a person known for his razor-sharp mind, was a bitter pill to swallow. They vividly recalled Yunli's expression when him appeared in the guild. Fear, shock, disbelief. Those who had followed Yunli for years had never seen him like that. Yunli was the brains behind Cloud Soar. He and Cloud Soar had built the guild from scratch, without any backing from major corporations, and made it one of the top 10 guilds within 5 years. The guild's rapid ascent was mostly due to Yunli's cunning strategies. Their inability to surpass higher-ranked guilds was purely a matter of resources, as they couldn't compete with corporate-backed groups. With such a track record, Yunli's defeat by him struck terror into the hearts of all who witnessed it. To be outmaneuvered and realize it only at the moment of death. Yunli stared blankly at the guild chat, replaying every step of his plan in his mind, searching for the flaw. He couldn't find it. From the strategy's conception to its execution, he had seen no missteps. Every step had been thoroughly vetted, triple-checked. To him, it had been a flawless plan. This was what terrified him. He didn't even know when him's scheme had begun. Unnoticed, he had walked straight into a trap. After all his years in gaming, it was the first time he'd tasted such bitter defeat. And it was a monster who'd delivered it. Damn it. I quit. The frustration and humiliation were too much for Yunli. As long as him was around, he'd always remember that condescending gaze. Him had completely crushed him, in strength, strategy, and wit. Prideful as Yunli was, he couldn't bear it. Especially when his foe wasn't even human, but a monster. Since the massacre, messages had poured in from other players. Hey, wasn't him dead? Why is your guild gone? That backfired pretty fast. Hurts much? Seriously, why'd you mess with him? Haven't you seen enough examples? Yunli, who valued his reputation, felt thoroughly humiliated. Even if he stayed in the game, he'd never lift his head again. With clenched teeth, Yunli made a choice. Big bro, I'm done with this game. He messaged Yunfeng, then quit the guild and logged out. Yunfeng wasn't surprised. He knew Yunli's pride wouldn't let him stay. Trying to convince him otherwise would be pointless. Shortly after Yunli's departure, Yunfeng made an announcement in the guild chat. Brothers, I'm sorry. Until we meet again. With that, he disbanded the guild. Without Yunli, there was no reason to keep going. Their hard-earned gear and supplies were gone in an instant. Their reputation was in tatters, and morale had hit rock bottom. Many old guild members followed Yunli out of the game. Those who stayed scattered, looking for fresh starts elsewhere. After logging out, Yun Li, still fuming, went straight to the game's official website to vent to customer support. What kind of garbage game is this? What's with that monster? It completely breaks game balance. You better investigate what him really is, or this game's going down. Prompted by Yun Li, Yun Feng and the guild's leadership sent similar complaints to the game's developers, attaching him's image and videos of the attack. Chapter 59 Boss. Boss. Say something. The customer service department of 0 Hour Company. When Xiao Wang received a message from Yun Li and his team, he glanced at the video clip attached. Then he tossed their feedback and the video into a folder labeled Him Feedback. The customer service department typically submitted player feedback to higher-ups and the technical department once a week. 4 days had passed since the last submission, meaning there were 3 days left until the next one. At this moment, the Him Feedback folder had already exceeded 5 gigabytes. Granted, the folder contained videos and images, but those only took up around 2.5 gigabytes. The rest? Purely text feedback. In other words, player text submissions alone accounted for 2.5 gigabytes. Faced with this enormous volume of data, Xiao Wang couldn't help but feel stunned. Strange. Why are so many people talking about him? What on earth is this him supposed to be? Xiao Wang wasn't a player of the game. Working in customer service kept him busy, after all. Even though he worked for a gaming company, Xiao Wang had little interest in games. Thus, he had no familiarity with Minecraft. Still, he needed to perform his duties. In fact, feedback about him had surfaced over a week ago. Back then, though, the reports were sparse, with players mentioning some mysterious, powerful, white-eyed creature. Some even claimed the creature had sentience. Xiao Wang had dutifully compiled and submitted these reports to the higher-ups and the technical team at the time. But they didn't take it seriously. After all, the company wasn't banking on this one game for revenue. Plus, the technical team confirmed no bugs existed. So, the matter ended there. Xiao Wang had assumed the white-eyed monster issue would gradually disappear. He hadn't anticipated the feedback to explode in frequency afterward. The white-eyed monster soon earned a name. Every player who reported it was filled with righteous fury, yet Xiao Wang had no explanation to offer. The thing was, this wasn't within his purview to handle. To draw attention from the higher-ups, and, admittedly, to be berated a little less in the future, Xiao Wang created a dedicated folder for him. He began compiling all player feedback about him there. With enough reports, surely the matter would gain some attention. At this rate, the folder will probably hit 10 gigabytes in 3 days. Unbeknownst to him, even this estimate was far too conservative. News of the Cloud Soar Guild's dissolution spread like wildfire across the entire server. Their disbandment confirmed the title of Along's livestream, Him Fakes Death, Cloud Soar Guild Wiped Out. Most players already felt a chill down their spines after witnessing the broadcast. While the stream didn't show any bodies, the equipment scattered across the ground and the devastated guild base spoke volumes about the massacre's intensity. The scene revealed a one-sided slaughter. It seemed Cloud Soar Guild's members couldn't even put up a fight. Players had always known Him's strength was formidable. But after this incident, their fear of him transcended into something deeply psychological. Him had only fought against players twice in any meaningful sense. Once with the Triumph Guild, and now with Cloud Soar. Both battles had ended in the same way. The Triumph Guild was disbanded on the spot, and so too was Cloud Soar. Players had even heard the guild leaders of Cloud Soar, guild leader Yun Feng and vice leader Yun Li, quit the game entirely. The Triumph Guild was one thing. It was a ragtag community of independent players. Its leader, Xiao Pe, was a mere pawn with neither strategy nor intelligence, a piece in Him's game. The Triumph Guild's fall was inevitable. But Cloud Soar was different. Cloud Soar ranked among the top 10 guilds. Most players knew Yun Li's reputation: brave, shrewd, and thoughtful. He was the guild strategist. Yet even he, after one encounter with him, had chosen to dissolve the guild and leave the game. Imagine someone who built a guild from scratch, achieving fame and respect, suddenly quitting after one fight. How desperate must he have felt to make that decision? What did him do to push him so far? Players shivered at the thought. No one knew exactly what transpired between Cloud Soar and him. But everyone understood one thing: Yunli must have been utterly broken. This is insane. Made him quit the game? Yunli, of all people? He was Cloud Soar's genius mind. Now he's done for. A zombie ate your brain. Honestly, I'm curious about what happened, but I'm scared. Everything related to him is pure nightmare fuel. Rumor has it him didn't bring any allies this time. He soloed Cloud Soar's 20,000 members. What kind of power does he have now? Can any Cloud Soar members step up and explain? We promise not to laugh. Half an hour ago, I was in Cloud Soar. Him's power? Honestly, I couldn't see much. From his arrival to the massacre's end, it was probably a minute. A minute? Is him that fast? Not in that way? I don't get it, but I'm impressed. While players feverishly discussed the event, ex-members of Cloud Soar stepped forward to share what they knew. Although they couldn't describe exactly what had happened, they recounted the slaughter's details. Unlike the battle with Triumph, this time, there was no strategy. Him simply found their base. Without a word, he unleashed an onslaught and left. The entire battle lasted under a minute. Most players barely glimpsed him before they and their allies perished. So, there wasn't much to tell. Yet this vagueness only made those who craved battle details even more horrified. There were no details, only a one-sided massacre. What kind of monster has he become? Wasn't the strategy to avoid him to stunt his growth? How can we stunt anything when he can wipe out 20,000 in a minute? My DPS is in the millions per minute. Guess I'm stronger than him. Sarcasm. Look at you so fast. At this point, players had become numb to him's power. Before, it seemed like he was just a bit too strong. After Cloud Soar's fall, however, their perception was once again shattered. In this game, no one would dare challenge him's dominance anymore. To fight him was to court death. Eternal Guild Base. What? Say that again. Tianheng stared at the guild's senior members in disbelief. The executives shifted uncomfortably. Him's alive. Cloud Soar Guild has disbanded. Yun Li and Yun Feng have quit? He supposedly took down Yun Teng in just 1 minute. Boss, we've captured one of his allies. What if he comes for us? Boss. Boss. Say something. Tianheng collapsed into a chair, pale-faced. This news struck him like a thunderbolt. After regaining some composure, he opened a chat with Yonghui. Boss. Him's still alive. What do we do now? Boss. Boss. Say something. Chapter 60, Speed Up the Taming. Unexpectedly, Him was still alive. And not only that, he had become even stronger than he was during the last encounter with the Triumph Guild. This was even without him controlling any monsters. Tianheng naturally worried that him might come knocking because of 007. On the other side, Yonghui had just received news that him was still alive. Always composed, he now found himself a little rattled. He immediately messaged Songlong. How's it going? Songlong's reply brought a glimmer of hope to Yonghui. We've made progress. The TNT attacks deal much higher damage than regular player attacks. With time, we should be able to wear it down. But it'll take some effort. After Yonghui issued his command earlier, Songlong had been trying to follow the proposed strategy to take down the dragon. To their surprise, it actually made headway. The TNT explosions indeed caused significant damage to the Ender Dragon. But executing this plan was no walk in the park. Players had to approach the Ender Dragon as it descended, dodge its dragon breath, plant the TNT, and then ignite it. In most cases, only 1 in 1,000 players could pull this off successfully. Still, the damage caused by explosions far outstripped what they could do with swords. Once they got the timing down, defeating the Ender Dragon became a matter of persistence. Hearing Songlong's report, Yonghui finally breathed a sigh of relief. Good. Take it down as quickly as possible. The reason he prioritized contacting Songlong instead of replying to Tianheng was simple. The Ender Dragon was an extremely rare entity. It appeared that only one existed in the game world. Unlike him, The Ender Dragon was just a boss, sealed in the End Realm, reigning over it. Having played countless games, Yonghui knew one thing for sure: bosses of the dragon species always dropped valuable loot. Moreover, many dragon bosses dropped dragon eggs. If this one did the same, it could potentially be hatched as a pet. Since this game had taming and pet systems in place, there was a high likelihood they could tame an Ender Dragon if they obtained its egg. Sure, him was strong. But Yonghui had seen the Ender Dragon's power in videos. It was on par with him. With this power in their hands, even if him came for them, Yonghui and his allies would have a fighting chance. This was Yonghui's contingency plan, his ace in the hole. Of course, everything hinged on slaying the Ender Dragon first. Once his thoughts were clear, Yonghui responded to Tianheng. "How's the progress on taming the diamond zombie?" Tianheng was a bit taken aback by the sudden question. "No progress yet? Should we even bother? If him shows up?" Seeing Tianheng's timid response, Yonghui let out a long sigh. "Do you really want me to tell you to let the diamond zombie go? You think releasing it will stop him from coming after you? Killed that wolf pup, didn't you? What did the zombie do when it saw the wolf get killed? Even if him doesn't seek you out, do you think the zombie won't? When that time comes, he'll show up with him, and you'll have zero chance." Yonghui's barrage of messages jolted Tianheng awake. Yonghui made sense. Tianheng was already stuck. If he released the diamond zombie, it would certainly seek revenge, possibly alongside him. After all, the diamond zombie knew the location of the Eternal Guild's base. If that happened, Tianheng would be utterly defenseless. And the Eternal Glory faction wouldn't lend any support. Keeping the zombie captive was the safer option, offering at least a sliver of hope. Realizing this, Tianheng replied again. "So, keep trying to tame the diamond zombie?" Seeing that Tianheng finally understood, Yonghui shared his plan. "Of course. Speed up the taming. I have a backup plan. Don't worry. If you can manage to control this zombie, combined with my contingency, even if him does show up, it won't be a total loss. And worst-case scenario? We use the diamond zombie as a hostage." Yonghui's idea was simple. If Songlong succeeded in killing the Ender Dragon and obtaining its egg, they'd have a powerful pet. Plus, he suspected 007 and him needed to kill players to grow stronger. If they could turn 007 to their side, Yonghui could feed it players. With over 20,000 members in the Eternal Guild, providing daily sacrifices to 007 would ensure rapid growth. It might even surpass him in strength. If Tianheng managed to turn 007, and with time to nurture it, combining its power with that of the Ender Dragon, they'd stand a fighting chance against him. Of course, this was only if him actively sought them out. If him didn't come, all the better for Yonghui. Comforted by Yonghui's words, Tianheng felt slightly more at ease. He promptly headed to the obsidian prison holding 007. A player approached and dumped a bucket of lava into the enclosure. The molten rock poured over 007's head, igniting his body. Although he felt no pain, he could sense his life draining away. "Roar!" The player watched as 007 burned and taunted him. "You really want the hard way? I told you, your master is dead. Serve us and you'll be free. Eat, kill, raise wolves, anything you want." When 007's health was nearly depleted, another player doused the flames with a bucket of water, halting the damage. Then they patiently waited for his health to recover. And repeated the cycle. Their actions were practiced. They must have been tormenting 007 like this for a long time. By now, the diamond armor had long since disappeared, likely destroyed by continuous exposure to lava. His skin had charred black, but oddly, it hadn't disintegrated. Even stranger was the black collar on his wrist, which remained untouched by the flames. Watching the torture, Tianheng shook his head. Simple physical torment was ineffective. 007 was a zombie, after all, devoid of pain. After studying 007's wrist for a moment, Tianheng had an idea. He turned to the players. "Capture some wolf pups and dye their collars black. Throw them in there. Have them attack him." Tianheng understood 007's mind. The little bug was precious to 007. To break him, they'd have to exploit that. By using wolves with identical collars, they'd provoke 007. If he refused to fight back, the wolves would kill him. If he wanted to live, he'd have to kill the wolves. But seeing the wolves, so much like the little bug, would only remind him of its death, over and over. Eventually, his spirit would break. And that was the perfect moment for brainwashing. Tianheng definitely understood the art of brainwashing. Break them mentally, then mold their thoughts once their minds blur. Under such confusion, success was possible. Of course, this method only worked on sentient creatures. If 007 were just a mindless zombie, nothing Tianheng did would have mattered. Except, perhaps, rewriting the code itself.